everybody. Welcome back to Freshly Spoiled. It's been a little bit.
Yeah.
Have been busy not watching movies. It's not the time of year to be doing that.
I know.
But we finally watched The Substance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Almost begrudgingly. I didn't want to see it.
You don't want to see it.
No. I thought, because I do very little research about the movies before we watched them. I said I was going to change that, but I haven't. And I was like, just the topic of it, like from what I heard, I was like, I don't want to sit through it. I felt like it was going to be like almost, like torturous to watch. Like I didn't really want my mind to be in that space. Yeah. And it was heavy. There were definitely points of it that like got to me. But I thought it was the best movie I have seen, like, in a really long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I suspected that we would disagree, but not by that much.
Well, this is great then.
Yeah, this is good. I've been waiting for this. I've
Yes.
been waiting for us to be able to disagree because that makes for a more interesting conversation.
Yeah, so let's get to it.
Yeah, I didn't want to watch it either. I was excited to watch Demi Moore. I've been a fan of Demi Moore for a long time. I don't think she's ever made critically acclaimed movies. She's made popular movies, Ghosts, and she's made movies that have lasted the test of time. But a lot of nominations for this. So this is our first episode that we recorded post Oscar nominations.
Oh yeah,
officially
true.
being released. So
right.
This was on the list prior because they thought it was rumors of maybe Best Actress, but then I ended up getting a bunch more nominations. One of which was Best Picture, which I was shocked at because this is a horror movie.
This is a horror movie all the way.
Yeah,
all the way.
Yeah, there's no getting around it. I never heard the term body horror before this movie, but I mean, what are other examples of body horror movies? Is it just gory?
I that's how I would say. Like I just thought it was gory. I guess I never knew that term.
Yeah, I had never heard that term before.
Body horror.
But, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to look.
Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't. It didn't register with me. I think the end, obviously, to me was ridiculous. It was.
Oh yeah. Well, so that could be my only critique, like a little critique of it was. Were you trying to make a serious movie or were you trying to just be absolutely ridiculous?
Yeah.
And I felt like for the most part, it was a good kind of blend of the two, but it was almost like the end was just so wildly ridiculous, which I loved it so much. The end when she's standing there on stage and she's just twirling and the blood is spewing and it's getting over everybody and everyone's just screaming. And then she just keeps like repopulating herself and falling and breaking open and then coming alive again. Yeah. And then finally she just drags herself over to the star and just like, oh God, that was great. It was amazing. I loved it so much. It was so satisfying after the entire movie of just being like.
So heavy.
Yeah. And like, you're just like, yes, like elated. Yeah. It was like a climax. Like, that's what it was. It was like, yes, just do it. Just get it,
Yeah, I have no problem with a movie making a hard departure from the tone that it set before that. I don't have any problem with that. I think that that can be done well. But my problem is that I didn't like it before that. I thought all of the symbolism. Actually, I heard a critic, not a critic, I heard a comic talking about the movie today who I rarely agree with. So it's funny that I agree with him now, which I agree with him so frequently about. Like we like the opposite movies. Every time this guy says, "Oh, I love this movie," I'm like, "I hate that movie." Oh, he's like, he hated Nosferatu, and I was like, "What do you got in your mind?" Like,
yeah.
So, but then when I agree with him, I'm like, "Yeah, see, he gets it." I'm like, I should. We agree so frequently that I should hear him say that and be like, "Oh, I guess I should take a second look at it because maybe it was better than I gave it credit for because he thought it was bad." So I should like it. But he said something that I thought before he said it. He said it felt it was too on the nose, and it felt like a college student movie with a budget. Like all of like the symbolism was so like heavy handed. Like
Well,
what?
it definitely in the beginning, like, yeah, like how even how it started
Yeah,
was like, oh, it was just like very obvious foreshadowing for the beginning and then the end.
yeah,
Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like it was a little like corny in that way,
yeah,
which is fine. I don't mind that. But then it almost was like very serious, but then not just wild and
yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. None of that registered with me. I like I said, I thought it was all. I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here, and then the what was Dennis Quaid character, like the
Right.
constant like just fucking full blast asshole was like
He was,
he was a cartoon character.
yeah.
Like he was a
Hmm.
cartoon character plopped in
Yeah.
this movie,
And
and like
I liked it.
the up close
Hmm.
like shots of it.
It was disgusting, but I
No,
appreciated it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was disgusting, and I in no way I'm happy you liked it, and I think that there's things in this like I would never tell somebody who liked it be like, oh, that movie sucked, because it was all like I just didn't register with me. But I like big decisions. I like when directors make big decisions. It just sometimes they work for people and sometimes they don't. And none of the decisions worked for me at all in this movie.
Mm.
I don't think there was one frame of this movie that I enjoyed.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and then like even the subtle parts that weren't gross or were just like the fact that she's going into this garage, this underneath, and she's got this like she goes in this secret place and takes a card. I was like, this is all so cheesy and like so like this is what if you would given me a budget at 22 years old and given me like a script, this is the movie I would have directed. And then was it was this movie, right, that we both thought about Darren Aronofsky?
Oh, yeah. I was like immediately like
Requiem
a few
for a
minutes in,
Dream.
yeah, I like typed in my notes. I was like, this is Requiem for a Dream
Yeah.
vibes. And then, but I didn't say that to you. And then, I don't know, a few minutes later, you said that.
Yeah, because they did a lot of fast cuts, and
But just the
it was
mood
like
of it,
like when they're like
the coloring of it, like
yeah,
the lonely, like the loneliness surrounded by the mania of people. Like I feel like because everybody was so happy and like enthralled with her as like a young person,
yeah,
and then like just alone, like the cuts back to her just being like not happy with herself.
yeah. What they didn't play into, which I thought they should have. I guess did we find out when this movie takes place? Because there was definitely 80s vibes to it, but then there was also some present
Well,
music.
it was, and then like the younger, yeah, I think it started
It's like
in
she was
the
kind of living
80s,
in
and then the years came by. You know, she aged, and then now the younger version of her, I think, is present time.
but Demi Moore was
right?
always the older Demi Moore in this movie. She was never playing like peak. I don't think the movie spanned a long time. I think the movie all took place in the matter,
Oh,
I think.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Cuz yeah, I don't know, but I was confused by that, but so
Yeah, sorry, but yes, in the beginning it was her like older, and that's why they had to. They
yeah,
were like, we got to get
getting
a
her out.
fucking younger.
Yeah, so I was confused. Like, does it take place in the 80s? So this criticism relies on it being a present day movie, not an 80s movie. But if you talk to any older women now, they'll tell you how young men are into them. Like that's a thing now, and I think it might be because of porn that kids watch. It's like MILF porn became such a thing. The young, I talked to my sister who was in her mid 40s, and she says guys in her 20s are constantly hitting on her. It's like young guys like old women, older women now. If you look decent.
Yeah, I was gonna say
And-
like your sister's gorgeous, so it's like
Yeah, but also Demi Moore is still for her age is gorgeous. She would be a
Yes.
prime example of a guy in his 30s being like, "Oh, that's hot." So the idea that like the neighbor across the street who would on his best day could never get Demi Moore. At current
Every
day.
guy in that movie, throat punch. Just
Yeah.
fucking bam,
Right. Yeah,
bam,
yeah,
bam.
exactly.
A piece of
And there was
shit.
that one guy that was like on a motorcycle and was like,
Well, that was the boyfriend.
that
That
was
was
the
the
boyfriend, right?
guy
when
that
she,
was
and then when they
hooking up with.
changed, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And then
But I'm
he was
like,
treating her like shit when,
yeah,
you know, she's
and I'm-
normal.
right,
when it's like
exactly.
her.
And like to me, that guy would have been like, oh, this is a hot older woman.
Mm-hmm.
So like none of that rung true to me. I'm like, no, young guys like older women if they're hot, they're into it. Like they want to be they want to play that role. They want to be so. But like the older executive thing, obviously that was an exaggeration. It was a cartoon version of that. But that does exist. I understand that. Like the women aren't allowed to age gracefully in Hollywood, and you can become a different type of character later in
Right.
your age, but
Right.
you can't be a sex symbol later in your age. So I get that was an exaggeration. They were really sending that message home, but it was just like that was gross and didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was so nasty.
Yeah. But to be fair, I didn't watch the last, how long would you say?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
I
that's
was,
right.
I was present for it, but
Yeah.
I couldn't physically watch.
Well, yeah, because at that point it was just so disgusting. It just was gross, nasty.
I was able to
Like-
check back in when it got ridiculous with the blob on stage and like the blood squirting. That's not realistic, but like the between there when her body was like falling apart, I can't watch shit like that. So I was like, I'm out. Like I get it. I'm not gonna miss
Her knees are like
something. Yeah.
breaking. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. Even so, it was both. It was when the younger version was falling apart, and that was gross. And then when she came back and she was old and she was falling
oh
apart.
yeah, her teeth.
Yeah, I was like, I can't watch any of this.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
But I think like it also like called attention to just like not even paying attention sometimes, like even if you are young and gorgeous, like she was in the elevator, and I don't know, maybe this was just maybe not as important, but I noticed it. Like she was in the elevator after her teeth were falling out or her ear fell off, and she's like crying, and she's like
Yeah.
obviously not okay. And there's a guy that walks in the elevator, and he's just like congratulating her on her New Year's Eve thing, and you couldn't even hear him talking because she couldn't hear, and he's just so oblivious to her like falling apart. It's like, pay attention. I'm a person, like, yes, this is great and I'm excited to do this, but this is not the time. I'm dying right now
Yeah.
and you don't care.
Yeah. I could see, like, I come from, my point of view as a man, but I could imagine a woman, even if you think, it was obvious. It wasn't a lot of subtlety in the symbolism, but still appreciating that they're pointing out that women go through this.
Yeah.
Like, on an exaggerated level.
That's
So,
what I loved about it. Like, it
Yeah.
was like absurd enough. And like you're saying, like, like, but also like in real life, like Demi Moore has like spoken about stuff like that and being treated like that and feeling
Yeah.
inferior, and which is crazy. But it's like, it
Yeah, I
just
think
goes to
it's-
show like, it doesn't matter how you look, like your self-worth, could be up or down.
Yeah. And you can put too much weight
Not-
into what people are saying about you and what people think about you, and then that becomes your worth. When that's such a curse, I see women who are young and they're so beautiful and they're always being told they're beautiful. And it's like, I hope that I hope you build a good foundation now, because that can be rough to be like, that goes away and they're like, oh, I walked through life being
Yeah.
like, everybody thought I was hot and now they don't care.
I know.
That's rough.
I know. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm glad I was always just kind of like, because there's not really anything to fall from.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it so much. I'm so happy that I watched it. And
Great.
I
I'm
wore the
thrilled that you
shirt in
did.
honor of the rug. I know it's not exactly
Yeah,
the
but, yeah,
same,
it's-
but
Very. If I change the tone of camera a little bit, it would be like because the pattern is kind of there.
Yeah, like
I
the
mean,
rug.
there wasn't
There's no
flowers in it,
flowers. It's
but
just
it is
like
that waviness.
almost square. I think it's square patterns,
Yeah,
not oval, but you know, it's
it gets the job done.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's an honor.
And I am honoring the movie by not having shaved my head.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I shave my head every other day, sometimes every day. Um, it's something I'm very self-conscious about. I'm self-conscious about that I went bald when I was a young man, so I've always just shaved my head and hoped that nobody would notice that it wasn't because I was forced to. So this is like nothing. So not because of this movie, but a couple weeks ago, right, or a week, maybe a week. How long have I been doing this?
A little more than a week, I
Yeah, a little
think.
more than a week. I decided, I'm not going to shave my head. I'm just going to see what it looks like. I know that it's going to look ridiculous, but it'll be funny. And I don't want to be not attractive. I would certainly never do this forever, but I thought I would like to see what my head looks like. So I have been wearing a hat all week. So it's like I'm not leaning into it. I'm still hiding from it. But then when we were about to record this, I'm like, I should embrace the fact that I'm aging and that there's a part of me physically that I'm not proud of. Talking about this movie, like I am not no different, but I'm a victim of that whole thing too, about
Right.
presenting yourself and being self-conscious about the way you look. And
Right. And that is something to be said. Like, yeah, women like it's women have it hard. All right.
Yeah.
We're judged by ourselves. We're judged by other people. There's a level of standard, regardless of whatever. But there is for men too. You know, men
Yeah.
like they in this movie, obviously they make men like every single man. I don't think there was one good man in this movie, which is fine. Like I don't think that there needed to be. Let that movie
Yeah.
be that. Let all men suck in that movie. But at the same time, you know, just in reality, not all men suck, and men have feelings and they have body issues and they are self-conscious and they deal with,
Yeah.
you know,
I think I do because I do, and I am self-conscious a lot, and I'm constantly worrying about if I've bent over, if my love handles are showing. Like I deal with that stuff all the time, but it always feels like I care more than anyone else cares. Even knowing that as a man, I'm always like, men don't really have the pressure. It's like I set a standard for myself that I would like, and I could choose to just not. I could choose to be an overweight guy and bald, and I could go through life and nobody's like, look at this gross guy. But I want to present myself better physically, so it feels more self-imposed of me as a man. But it's like women, is so much more pressure from the outside to be like, your worth is how you look. Like my worth isn't how I look, but I want to look better. So yeah, I'm happy the movie exists. It's gross,
mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's definitely a legacy nomination for Demi Moore. Like, did you think at any point like she's killing this role? Like that she deserves Best Actress in this role? It was serviceable. She did fine. Like she did. She wasn't bad, but
Yeah.
there was almost like there was nothing there for her to be like, because she was like actively rubbed her makeup off.
I
in
mean,
the
I thought
mirror.
she was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought she like the sorrow, the anger. Oh my God, when she was in the kitchen and she was cooking and she was watching the younger version talk on the talk show.
Yeah.
That I think that was my favorite. That was
Yeah,
my
it's
favorite part besides the end.
She was like mocking her.
Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you were
good.
laughing at that
It
quite a
was
bit.
so good. I loved her so much. I fell in love with her at that moment. I was
Okay,
like,
yeah.
oh my
I
God.
could be talked into that. I guess there was a pretty physical, like
Yes,
she
and that's it too.
loving having to do that. and-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the makeup,
maybe
like
she-
her,
maybe
like
she was-
going from
yeah.
her normal thing to just the beast, the monster at the
Yeah.
end, like not even the blobby monster, but like right before she like changed.
Yeah.
You know, when she was all like hunched and
Yeah.
bald and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think I just, when I look for acting, I look for, I think just the roles. I like there to be a little more seriousness to it. So that's not her fault that the role didn't, like, it almost, she needed to be kind of big at times.
Yeah, I loved it.
Just to fit the movie. So, and then what's the woman's, Margot Qualley?
Yeah, something Quali.
Qualley? Yeah.
I forget her first name.
I think she, you know, played that role fine.
Yeah,
too.
I loved when she went nuts and started kicking the crap out of her when she was
Yeah.
down. She really like got into that.
Yeah, I was trying not to let the fact that, like, I wasn't even going to bring it up, but like I just, she doesn't register to me as somebody that, like, people went so nuts over her, like when you first saw her, and like I told you, I'm like, if she walked in the room now, I'd probably be like, this woman's stunning, yeah, but she just didn't. When I'm comparing her to Demi Moore, who I've, like, in my mind is like top 3 most beautiful women in Hollywood ever. And it's like, but then you're talking about this woman. It's like, it didn't register to me. Like, I'm happy that people think she's funny, and like, I'm not, you know, there's somebody, everyone has different tastes. People, and it's just like, just what didn't register for me. But I was trying to just put that aside and be like, we'll just buy into the role that this is a woman who just everybody would go nuts for if they saw her. And I think I was able to, but I was struggling at first to be like, this is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that was like an important part of it. They made sure to like kind of like keep putting the camera on her.
Yeah. The smile, like the body, like
Yeah.
yeah.
But like I feel like that was just more sensational. I really feel like for me the more important part was Demi's like her mind, where she was at, how she was feeling about that, not necessarily that. Yeah.
And I tend to like movies about a procedure that doesn't exist. Like to me, like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is maybe my favorite movie of all time, is based on a procedure that you could get, but it's kind of like underground. Like you don't really. I like this. There's another movie called Cold Soul, which I liked more than probably I should have, but it was a Paul Giamatti, and it was you can kind of like trade souls with somebody. So it's the same type of thing. It's like this. You can, if you see a newspaper cutting, article, and you'd be like, oh, what's this thing? I would sign up for that and get it done. So it's the same type of thing. Like, not a lot of people know this exists, but somehow these people find out. And a movie that I want to make is based on like a technology that doesn't exist, like a procedure that you would want to get about being able to. It's the movie I have in my head is it's based on the multiverse existing, and if like it's apparently like every time you make a decision, like the multiverse, like it splits and like one life goes in this direction. So I wanted a technology where it's like you can record, like if you're faced with a decision, you can record this option, like you choose this option, but you can record that option just to watch, and you can continue to watch your life go that direction to see what would my life be like if I had made that decision. And it's a very expensive thing, but it's the same type of thing. It's like this.
So
thing
you could see
like,
it, but you won't experience it.
You get the chance. You can one time you can be like, you can decide I want to jump into that life and I want to switch lives with that thing. And it's all about regret and choices, and we all get one shot at life, and like that's so but that's based on the same thing. It's a technology, it's a procedure, whatever that you don't have. So that this is the same thing. At its core, I like that idea of it, but I didn't like it was too absurd of a procedure, like the way it physically like the back opens up and a whole another person climbs out of it. I'm like, this is too far fetched for me. It's what I mean. Like this is not like all the other versions of that. Like I could see happening, even though they're an impossibility. Like they made sense. I'm like, oh yeah, I can see maybe 200 years down the line that existing. But this is like never. I could never picture this.
Even though like that's almost the closest to natural birth, like
Yeah.
something coming out of another
Yeah.
human is
Yeah.
almost like
Yeah.
exactly what
But
happens.
like, that's not how organs work, where like it's just like the back opens up and another person climbs out. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Like if she
yeah, I
gave
know that,
if like yeah.
but
Like if she
we
gave birth
build
if she gave birth
a whole human and push it out,
yeah.
like it.
Yeah, but if it would have happened where like she birthed somebody and like that thing grew and became, then I'd be like, all right, maybe I wouldn't.
Yeah, but they did that in Terrifier.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't see that. So that was the first one.
The second,
Yeah.
I think it was just the head
Okay.
and.
Yeah, that sounds like maybe that wouldn't fit my criteria either.
But I loved the theater of the absurd. I loved
Yeah,
how
and
crazy
yeah,
it
that's
was.
that's it's valid. That's all
Yeah.
valid. I just
Yay, we disagreed.
yeah, and I'm thrilled that you liked it because I know you weren't excited about it. So this and Wicked, I think even a good amount of movies this year you were not excited about seeing and you were pleasantly surprised. So that's why you do that's the Oscar thing. It's you get turned on to some good movies. But yeah, this one didn't do it.
All right.
Agree to disagree,
Okay.
and I respect your opinion,
Thanks.
even though it's wrong. Okay, bye.
Bye.